Say goodbye to all that sorrow. Say goodbye to all that pain. Say goodbye to the same old Lions and the curse of Bobby Lane. Say goodbye to all that sorrow. Say goodbye to all that pain. Say goodbye to the same old Lions and the curse of Bobby Lane. Say goodbye to the same old Lions and the curse of Bobby Lane.
You can feel electricity in the Motor City. Hope transforming into belief. Ford Field turning into a fortress, and away games feeling that way too. Let's take a look back at the Detroit Lions' historic 2024-2025 season on the road to the playoffs with eyes on a Super Bowl berth. What is the best way to kick off a season with Super Bowl or bust aspirations? How about Sunday Night Football in Detroit against Matthew Stafford and the Rams in a rematch from the 2023 Wild Card round? It was a game that featured just about everything, and the Lions looked dominant for most of it, taking a 17-3 lead into the third quarter after Jared Goff found Jameson Williams for a 52-yard touchdown pass. But Detroit's old friend did his best to spoil the home opener. Stafford threw for 317 yards, helping the Rams erase a 2-touchdown deficit when he found Cooper Kupp for a go-ahead score with just 4 minutes and 30 seconds to play. That would lead to the lure of Jake Bates being born. After being thrown into the starting job after Michael Bagley got hurt in training camp, Bates hit a game-tying 32-yard field goal in his first NFL game to send the season opener into overtime. Detroit won the coin toss, took the ball, and marched right down the field. 8 plays, 70-yard drive capped off by a David Montgomery touchdown run to seal the first of many victories in 2024.
It just wasn't our smoothest, but a win's a win. We got to be happy about it.
How fun was that overtime drive when you
it was good.
hand the ball off?
Just hand it to Demo, man, that battering ram. Just hand it to him, and he did the rest. It was fun. It was fun watching him kind of catch that second win there in that overtime, and our O-line the same way. And then I was joking with him when we called we called the play on the 1-yard line, and it was like, this is scoring. There was no doubt, and punched it in. It was great.
The Lions once again got the best of Stafford and the Rams and immediately cemented themselves as one of the best teams in the NFC.
1, 2, 3, Lions!
Week 2 of the season puts the Lions on the road to Tampa Bay, another early rematch of a team they beat in the playoffs the year before. But this time, it would be the Buccaneers that took home the win. The Lions put up numbers offensively with 463 total yards, but weren't able to convert in the red zone. On 7 trips, Detroit only scored 1 single touchdown on a 1-yard run from David Montgomery in the third. Jake Bates led the team in scoring with 9 on 3 of 3 field goal attempts. Lions defense kept the game close throughout, holding the Bucs to an early field goal after a goal line stop and only allowing a single touchdown in the first half. After an early third-quarter rally, the Lions took the lead 16-13, but that lead only lasted a few minutes before Mayfield scores on an 11-yard run with just seconds to go in the quarter. The Lions once again threatened to score late in the fourth, driving over 70 yards, but falling just short of the end zone after failing to convert on 4th and 8 in the red zone.
Their coach cost them. Their head coach cost them this one. So, critical error into half. And 100% on me. We improved. There's areas we got to continue to improve on, but it's not okay.
I think this is going to be really good for us. You know, we had an early loss last year too, and you know, I remember we lost to Seattle, and everybody thought we sucked again. You know, and so it was. I think we're going to keep this one in perspective, and you know, if we're going to be struggling a little bit as a team, I'd rather we struggle early rather than late. And we're going to, you know, the plan is to catch fire as we get through the season, and then, you know, then we go from there.
The Bucs give the Lions their first loss of the season with a final score of 20-16. Week 3 of the season, the Lions hit the road for the first time, heading to State Farm Arena to take on the Arizona Cardinals. The Lions were off to an explosive start, scoring on the opening drive with a touchdown from David Montgomery. But the Cardinals were quick to strike back, setting up their own scoring drive in the first. The second quarter was practically all Lions, with Jared Goff connecting on 2 touchdown passes to Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jahmyr Gibbs. But the Cards kept things close heading into halftime with a last-second field goal, making it 20-10 at the end of 2. The second half opened with a huge drive from the Cardinals, but Lions safety Kirby Joseph shut down any hopes of scoring with a pick in the end zone on a pass intended for Arizona's Max Melton. Most of the second half was a defensive battle, with the only score coming late in the fourth off the foot of Matt Prater, making the final 20-13 and giving the Lions their first of many road victories.
Gritty, like unglorious type of games you were going to need to play. And you did that across the board, man. And that's, at the end of the day, that's our baseline, man.
In Week 4, the Lions returned to Detroit to face an undefeated Seattle Seahawks team that looked like it had division-winning potential. But Detroit's offense had other plans, firing on all cylinders. It was the Lions all first half. The dual-threat running backs, Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, putting up numbers with 3 touchdowns in the first 2 quarters and a total of 118 yards between the 2 backs in regulation. Jared Goff recorded one of his best games of the season, going a perfect 18 for 18 and throwing for 2 touchdowns. And Goff was on the receiving end of one as well, a pass from Amon-Ra St. Brown for his only career receiving touchdown. Goff can thank Lions offensive coordinator Ben Johnson for that stat on the trick play. The Seahawks briefly made it competitive with 2 touchdowns in the third, but the Lions quickly hit back with 2 of their own, making it 35-20 after 3. The Seahawks brought it back within 1 score with a 21-yard run from Kenneth Walker in the opening seconds of the fourth, but Goff would put the Lions back ahead by 15 with a pass to St. Brown with only a handful of minutes left as the Lions take down the Seahawks 42-29.
A couple of years. That play's been in for a long time, and it's just never gotten, we've never gotten to the right situation for it to get called. And then I think we actually have called it in a game before, and then if it's not the right look, I get out of it. But that was the right look.
After coming off back-to-back wins, the Lions get their break in Week 5 with the earliest possible bye week in the NFL. The early break would end up being a topic of discussion as the Lions amassed injury after injury as the season progressed on.
Listen, we've had 2 huge losses on our defense, and that's with Davenport and with Barnes. But listen, we make no excuses about that. We continue to play because no one cares, all right? No one cares. And for us, other guys have to step up.
We're on a mission this year, and we're not going to let the past define us.
The Dallas Cowboys suffered another ugly home loss to the Lions. What's next for this franchise?
Revenge in Dallas is best served with a blowout victory over America's team. Week 6's return to the Lone Star State brought back some unpleasant memories, led by a Dan Skipper touchdown taken off the board, leading to a Detroit loss almost 365 days earlier. But this time around, the Lions wouldn't let the refs have any outcome on the game, dominating from start to finish. Jared Goff threw for 315 yards and 3 touchdowns, while David Montgomery ran for 2 more scores. The Lions' most lopsided win of the early portion of the season wound up coming with a major loss, though. Early in the second half, Aiden Hutchinson fractured the fibula and tibia bones in his left leg, putting an end to his 2024 campaign. Despite missing the final 12 games of the season, Hutchinson still finished as the team sack leader with 7.5. He received 1 second-team All-Pro vote.
Let me start here. I hate it for Hutch. That's tough. It was tough. And he's in good hands right now. He's being taken care of. He'll stay back here. Obviously he's going to be down for a little while. And so that's tough, man. It's hard when you lose somebody like him. But we'll know a lot more after this, and obviously wish him the best. As far as the guys, man, I thought we really played the most complete game we've probably played here in a long time, if not the most since we've been here. I just thought all phases stepped up, particularly offensively and defensively.
It's obvious how good he is and how, great of a player he is on the field. And what he does for our team schematically and, what type of season he was having. But yeah, just to see him, in that situation and, it kind of just brings you back down to earth of, we're playing a violent, dangerous sport and, it just kind of is what it is and it happens. But, to see him, go out like that is tough.
The following week, the Lions stayed on the road heading to Minnesota for an important NFC North showdown, but they might not have realized at the time how important this game would wind up being. The Vikings came out of the gates firing, scoring the game's first 10 points, but then the Lions flipped the script. Jared Goff, like he was for most of the season, phenomenal, going 22 for 25 with big-time throw after throw. The Lions scored 21 unanswered points to take a 21-10 lead into halftime. Leading 28-23 in the fourth, Detroit was stunned when a David Montgomery fumble led to a Minnesota defensive touchdown, and in the blink of an eye, the Lions trailed in the final 5 minutes. But all that did was allow the offense to drive down the field for the game-winning points. It was once again a Jake Bates winner. His 44-yard field goal with just 19 seconds left silenced the crowd at US Bank Stadium and gave the Road Warriors another win away from Ford Field.
It was definitely loud, definitely the loudest, environment I've ever kicked in. But at the end of the day, it's doing the same job that, I prayed for so long and I've worked so hard for. And so, if you let that get too big, then the moment's probably going to get too big for you. So kind of just, telling myself to stay calm.
We hung in there and we didn't bat an eye. Things, appear to start going a little south there at the end. Got the ball back. We stopped a 2-point conversion, which was huge, and defensively, and then Goff and that O-line takes us right down the field with Gibbs and St. Brown and, man, Bates. How about that? What a kick. What a kick, man. So just a great team win.
The Lions returned to Ford Field in late October, featured one of the highest-scoring games in franchise history. A 52-14 win over the Titans saw Detroit score on all 5 of its trips to the red zone. The defense forced 4 turnovers, and Khalif Raymond took a punt 90 yards for a touchdown.
To the 40, to the 30, he's gone, baby, he's gone! 10-5, end zone, touchdown, Khalif Raymond!
Detroit became the 3rd team since 1941 to have a punt return of 90 yards or more and a kickoff return of 70 or more in a single game. A dominant performance in all 3 phases of this football game, with Tennessee well on its way to owning the first overall pick.
What's it like to score as a team 52 points, just short of a record, which in the regular season was 55 for the Lions?
Yeah, we've been close in the past 2 years. We got like 42, 49. I think I had 47 versus the Cowboys. So, it feels good to finally get that 50 ball.
It's the ultimate team sport, and I feel like today was the ultimate team game for us. Everyone had a part in this win, I feel like, whether you're scoring, blocking, creating a turnover, returning, punting, whatever it was. I feel like everyone had a part in this game, and it was awesome to see.
The Lions didn't play outside once this season until an early November game at Lambeau that featured Mother Nature at her finest. But despite the windy, rainy conditions, the Lions showed they can win anywhere, anytime. Green Bay opened the game with a 14-play drive that lasted nearly 8 minutes, but settled for a Brandon McManus 30-yard field goal. Then the Lions scored the next 24 points to take control. The offense converted 2 fourth downs into touchdowns, and over his last 6 games, Jared Goff has completed 82.8% of his passes and has a 140.1 passer rating, both the best over any 6-game stretch in NFL history.
In those elements, your offense is going to be a little bit different, a little bit limited in some of the down-the-field stuff, and we knew that coming in, and I thought we handled it great. Having no turnovers again is pretty remarkable in that weather, and we've been doing it all year and got to keep doing it.
Eventual first-team All-Pro safety Kirby Joseph took a pick 27 yards to the house, helping the Lions improve to 7-1 for the first time since 1956. It was Detroit's 3rd straight win in Green Bay, its longest road win streak against the Packers since 1991.
We're going to validate being able to play in the weather. It doesn't matter, man. That's just the way you're built. It's the way you're built. That's an outstanding win.
As long as we going, man. Family on 3, family on me 1, 2, 3.
From the UFL to hitting walk-off field goals for the Lions. On Sunday Night Football against the Texans, Detroit's kicker Jake Bates had another one of his coming-out parties. Despite Jared Goff throwing a career-high 5 interceptions and the Lions trailing 23-17 at halftime, Detroit pulled off its biggest comeback of the season against the Texans. The turnaround was led by the defense, throwing up a second-half shutout and 2 interceptions by Carlton Davis that gave the ball back to the offense and gave them a chance to get back into the game. Trailing by 10 late in the fourth, an Amon-Ra St. Brown touchdown followed by a career-high 58-yard field goal for Bates would tie the game at 23. Houston proceeded to miss a field goal on the ensuing drive, which led to Bates again, this time hitting a 52-yard walk-off field goal to finish off 19 unanswered points for the win.
It is up, and it is good! He got it! We're going to fly home on the wings of Jake Bates!
Up to this point, Bates had yet to miss a field goal on the season. From a position that seemed to be in crisis mode after Bagley's preseason injury, Bates provided the Lions stability all season long.
Mr. Bates!
Hey, good win. Shout out my boys, Jack and Hogan, man. I love you guys, and man, I'm just so happy to be a part of that operation. Love you guys.
Man, that is the definition of resiliency. You guys just kept banging away, right? We did whatever we had to do, and we just bought our time. Defense, that was outstanding, man. That was outstanding. That was outstanding. And we knew it's just a matter of time. Offense, we get our points, man. Bates, that was freaking ginormous. All right. Look, and I just say this again. This is what great teams do. This is what great teams do. Even when you're having an off day, you find a way, man. You freaking find a way and you will it to happen. That's what you did today. That's what you did.
The Lions entered their Week 11 game with the Jaguars as heavy favorites, and it was pedal to the metal from the opening kickoff, resulted in one of the most dominating wins in franchise history. In Detroit's first game at Ford Field in 3 weeks, it was deja vu from Week 8, putting up an identical 52 points. David Montgomery found the end zone on the opening drive, the first of 7 straight touchdowns scored by the Lions offense. 3 of those touchdowns were scored by the two-headed monster of Sonic and Knuckles. 2 rushing scores from Montgomery and 1 from Jahmyr Gibbs. Jared Goff was near perfect, throwing for 412 yards and 4 touchdowns to both St. Brown and Jamison Williams, and also Brock Wright. The 644 yards on offense set the franchise record and became the 10th most yards in a game in NFL history. The win over Jacksonville was the Lions' 9th of the season, and Dan Campbell's squad gave Detroit its first 8-game win streak since 1934. But an Alex Anzalone injury put a damper on an otherwise mistake-free afternoon. Detroit would lose its veteran linebacker for the next 6 games with a broken forearm, but the 46-point margin of victory was the largest in team history. Men against boys to keep the Lions atop the NFC.
We found a way to win, and we weren't having it today, man. You guys willed that game the way you wanted it, and we have that ability. Remember that. Remember that.
The Lions made the short trip to Indianapolis and cruised to victory the following week against the Colts to stay undefeated on the road. Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery combined for 3 rushing touchdowns, and the defense dominated, putting up a second-half shutout for the 3rd straight week. Detroit was set to head back to Ford Field, sitting 10-1 for the first time since 1934.
That's a good job. That got us to 10. That's 10. That's 9 in a row. How many of you guys have won 9 in a row in here in the NFL? Raise your hand. Yeah, it's saying something. It's rare. All right, we're in rare air right now. All right, so we're doing something special, which we knew we would. There are little things to clean up. All right, but the most important thing is we found a way to get that W.
Thanksgiving with the Bears was certainly a tale of 2 halves. The first half saw the Bears total 53 yards and just 2 first downs, while the Lions opened up a 16-0 halftime lead. Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery continued to cement themselves as the best running back duo in the league, combining for 144 first-half yards. First overall pick Caleb Williams, though, took the opening possession of the second half, 74 yards for a Chicago touchdown, and the comeback was on. The Bears would get the ball back late in the fourth quarter, trailing 23-20, a chance to send the game to overtime or pull off the upset victory. Then the Bears, well, pulled the Bears. In Detroit territory, an illegal hands to the face penalty followed by a Zadarius Smith sack put Chicago on the edge of field goal range with 30 seconds to play. Even with a timeout in their pocket, the Bears let the remaining time come off the clock, allowing for just one more desperation heave that fell short. It was the end of the Matt Eberflus era in Chicago. Jared Goff's second-half touchdown pass to Sam Laporta was his 100th passing touchdown in the Honolulu Blue, becoming just the sixth quarterback in NFL history to throw 100 passing touchdowns with two different franchises. The Lions stayed perfect in division play and won on Turkey Day for the first time in 9 years.
I'm thankful for every one of you guys in this room, man, and you got a lot to be thankful for. We all do, man. Happy Thanksgiving to all of you.
The Lions were back in action for the second straight Thursday. This time, the Thursday Night Football crew was in town for the rematch with the Packers. With a win, Detroit could bury Green Bay in the division race, and it would once again look toward Jake Bates to play hero. An offensive shootout saw Jared Goff throw 2 touchdowns on 4th and goal, one to Tim Patrick, who found the end zone for the first time since 2021. 6 Lions had at least 5 receptions in this one, the first time that's ever happened in NFL history. At times in this game, Campbell's aggressiveness wouldn't work out, but the Lions head coach stuck with his gut. With the score tied at 31 and under a minute to play, Campbell gambled, once again opting to go for it on 4th and 1, deep in Packers territory, instead of kicking a go-ahead field goal. David Montgomery rewarded his head coach with a 7-yard run to all but seal the victory. As time expired, Bates nailed his 3rd game-winning field goal of the season. The 35-yarder moved the Lions' win streak to 11 games, the longest in franchise history. And with the win, the Lions clinched a playoff berth.
God! I told you you'd never forget this game. You will never forget this game. We don't have to talk about how tough we are. We don't have to talk about how resilient we are. We live it, man. We've been living it. We live in pressure. That's where we freaking thrive. You did it again. You did it again. All right? It doesn't matter who's playing for us. It doesn't matter what's going on. You always find a way to win. That's what champions do.
Week 15 was deemed a Super Bowl preview. The Bills came into town in a matchup of 2 of the few teams in the NFL with true championship aspirations. But for the first time this season, the Lions were truly outmatched from the opening kick, and the 11-game win streak was no more. Josh Allen and the Buffalo offense gashed a depleted Detroit D for 559 yards of total offense. Jared Goff held serve, throwing for 494 yards and 5 touchdowns, including Dan Skipper's first career score, but not even that performance from the offense was enough. Goff became the first quarterback in NFL history to top 400 passing yards, throw for at least 5 touchdowns, no interceptions in a game, and lose. Every Detroit score was met with a response. The Bills scored on 5 of their 6 drives in the second half to pull away in this one, giving the Lions defense more questions than answers headed into the stretch run of the regular season. The Lions left Ford Field with the hope they could get another crack at Buffalo in New Orleans come February.
We came out on the short end of the stick, all right? Enjoyed the battle. Hopefully look forward to seeing them again.
3 days before Christmas, the Lions made their return to the Windy City, and Detroit got back to its winning ways. Jared Goff stayed locked in, throwing for 336 yards and 3 touchdowns to keep the Lions atop the NFC with their franchise record 13th win of the season. Jamison Williams continued his strong season with a career-high 143 yards on 5 catches, while Jahmyr Gibbs put up 109 yards on the ground. The exclamation point was a Ben Johnson masterpiece. The stumble bum saw Goff and Gibbs pretend to lose the football, turning into a wide-open Sam Laporta touchdown to finish off the season sweep of the rival Bears.
Ben asking me if he thought I could actually fumble on purpose and pick it back up. I was like, I don't know about that, and we kind of got off that pretty quickly, and we're like, let's just pretend we're falling or pretend I'm fumbling, but I'm holding on to the ball. And I think the part that Gibbs, where he dives, really sells the play. You know, I'm only doing half of it, but yeah, it worked. It worked like a charm, and was nice to score there.
I knew the play was on. We're running the play, and as soon as the ball was snapped, I just hear the crowd go, "Ooh!" I'm like, perfect. I mean, everyone's thinking you probably fumbled it, and then I look back and it's a touchdown.
to rest the starters or to not rest the starters? That was the question pondered by Dan Campbell before Week 17's Monday Night Football showdown with the 49ers. Despite the game having zero implication on the NFC North race or playoff seeding, Campbell and the Lions went full throttle to take down the Niners 40-34, leaving Santa Clara with some semblance of revenge from last year's NFC title game and all the momentum in the world headed into the final week of the regular season.
We don't get to prepare those other guys because you don't know what's going to happen. You can only sit 6 guys. You cross your fingers, nobody gets hurt. I mean, it's tough. And we were fortunate, we got out. And now it's on to the next one.
There was a strong consensus that Week 18 against the Vikings was the most important regular season game in Detroit Lions franchise history. The winner would take home the NFC North title, the 1 seed in the conference, and home field advantage throughout the playoffs, while the loser would be sent on the road to play the Rams in Los Angeles Wild Card Weekend. Aaron Glenn's injury-riddled defense came up with its best performance of the season when it mattered most. A goal line stand in the second would set the tone. The Vikings were held to just 142 passing yards on the night and a dreadful 6 points on 4 trips to the red zone. And even with a cast on his right arm, Anzalone would lead the team in tackles. On the offensive side of the ball, this will forever be remembered as the Jahmyr Gibbs game. The sophomore back out of Alabama had a franchise record 4 touchdowns, 3 coming in the second half, helping to turn a 10-9 ball game into a 31-9 blowout win. Gibbs finished his 2024 regular season with the most touchdowns ever by a Lion with 20. For the first time ever, the NFC's road to the Super Bowl would go through Detroit. The Lions are back-to-back NFC North champions.
What we've done is not easy. It's not easy. But I'm telling you what, man, we've said it all along. We got a special group, man. And this has been coming a long time. That's a lot of hard work. And we are the number 1 seed with a bye, gentlemen. Great job.
I was swerving in that corner.
Hey, way to go, fellas. Be proud of this. This is just step 1. This is just step 1. We're on to bigger and better now. Proud of you guys. Love you all. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Win. Say goodbye to all that sorrow. Say goodbye to all that pain. Say goodbye to the same old Lions and the curse of Bobby Lane. Say goodbye to the same old Lions and the curse of Bobby Lane.